help you out. I haven't got diamond, silver, nor even gold, but blessings I give to its west, north, and south. Oh, Grenada, Grenada, here I come. Sweet, sweet Grenada. I will never, ever, ever let you down. Oh no. I'll always be your support, right here by your side. With my arms around you to wipe your weeping eye. Oh yeah. It's quite a long time now since you have fallen back to the last rung of the ladder, and your neighbors stand up there and uttering no talk, but to help they just don't bother. Some of your friends have turned their backs on you. They don't want to see a friend with your name on it. Don't bother with them, one day you will rise up too. Cause in times to come, is the bread they might have to eat. Listen, let me go. Oh, Grenada, Grenada, here I come. Sweet, sweet Grenada. I will never, ever.
And good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Pity Martinique.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you realize the voice isn't fully there today.
I'll always be your support, right here by you. With my arms around you, let we go.
Yeah. Good morning to Grenada, Carriacou, and Pity Martinique. Yes, indeed. I haven't seen Devon yet for the morning. He may or may not be in. I'm not absolutely sure. I know he has an issue that he has to deal with this morning.
Listen, it's time that we take a stand to defend your position from all those smart repuffs.
At the end of the day, remember it's one Grenada, not 2, 3, or 4 that each person could take the piece and go with.
And boast to the world,
It's one Grenada.
the reigning champ. While your friends them happy, had times they were going through, they still wouldn't help you out if you beg them please. But woe unto them, little do they know that a good name is better than great riches. Oh, Grenada, Grenada, here I come. Sweet, sweet Grenada. I will never, ever, ever let you down. Oh no, I'll always be your support, right here by your side. With my arms around you to wipe your weeping eye.
And we're opening the phone lines early today. We apologize for those of you that usually get us on Facebook. You can get us on the YouTube link. Facebook is having issues today. Not just for us, it seems as though for everyone there's a problem with Facebook, yeah? Has been giving that platform has been giving a lot of problems over the past few weeks, huh? Maybe it's too much people on Facebook, I don't know. They're just giving a lot of problems over the last few weeks.
Sweet, sweet Grenada. I will never, ever, ever let you down. Oh no, I'll always be your support, right here.
So for those of you that usually look for us on Facebook, you can get us on YouTube. Just look for Hard Talk Grenada on YouTube.
Let we go.
is a very extremely rainy day on the Isle of Spice today, huh?
I love my country. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to kind of wash the place, you understand? You have to kind of power wash the island, and that's what's taking place right now, huh?
They don't want
We're giving it a little power wash, you understand?
your name on it. Don't bother with them. One day you go right.
Sometimes the Almighty does have to remind us who in charge, innit?
Is the bread they might talk to it. Listen, let me go. Oh.
The National Disaster Management Agency, they've sent out a release speaking of the possibility of flooding today, Wednesday. The Met Services at the Maurice Bishop International Airport have issued a flood warning for the state of Grenada due to the current weather conditions experienced overnight and expected to continue during the day today. The possibility of flooding in already saturated soil is more likely. According to forecasters at the Met Office, light to moderate and in some cases heavy showers are likely today, Wednesday. The general public is hereby advised to exercise caution if you live in low-lying areas and while driving along roadways, as flooding and landslides are possible in areas so prone. The National Disaster Management Agency encourages all to be proactive and take personal responsibility for one's safety. We advise against complacency and remind all that we are still within the hurricane season. All right? Nice. That's the National Disaster Management Agency. They say for more information, you could call them on 440-8390. We have a caller. I missed that one. Yes, so you can call 440-7377. And for those of you outside of Grenada, 347-329-3101. You can give us a call. Nice, beautiful, wonderful, nice. Yeah, so a lot of rain today. You know what's very sad about this entire issue when it comes to pensions and gratuities and that sort of thing? There are many people out there, the same way last week they looked at the issue of the Caribbean Court of Justice from the perspective of NNP and NDC. There are a lot of people now that are breaking into some little camps and starting to look at this issue of pension restoration from the viewpoint of NNP and NDC. And let me tell you something. When it comes to pension restoration and reformation, it is going to benefit. Once it's successful, it's going to benefit whether you're NNP, whether you're NDC, or whether you support no political party, it will benefit you. The government is willing to make sure that it benefits you. The unions are willing to make sure that it benefits you. But the unions need to come to the table. The government since October 3rd has been waiting for them to come to the table. What is keeping them from coming to the table? Yeah? What is keeping them from coming to the table? We know they ought to have a meeting. We don't know if they'll go. They ought to have a meeting with the Labour Commissioner this morning to discuss this particular issue because there is no industrial dispute between the government of Grenada and the unions, yet the unions have decided to strike. So the government, according to the Labour Code, have decided that, yeah, you can strike and we could withhold the salary. So the government has decided that they will withhold payments for the days missed by those within the public service who have decided to take their days of rest and reflection. With my arms around you to wipe your weep. I know no one would like to be going to this is November. At the end of November, basically, you do your Christmas shopping and so on in some cases. No one would like to be having to go and do their Christmas shopping minus 25% of the salary. Then you have the people out there and you listen to them on various programs. Because you heard them during the election campaign, you heard these people, the NDC supporters, you heard these people saying the worst things about this government. And now you hear them, they're trying to defend teachers. While you have people like the president at UTAM at the NDC saying basically, to hell with the teachers. They look for that, they vote for the government. They voted for a government. NDC, 1990 to 1995, did nothing on pension restoration. Did nothing on pension reformation. Nothing. NDC, 2008 to 2013 did nothing. This new National Party administration between 2013 and 2018 has been the first administration to tackle the issue of pension reform and pension restoration. Yet still, you have the same people whose party never did anything even close to this running out there and saying that the government wicked. How could the government that is restoring you from 0 to 100%, that's what they're doing, because as it is right now, none of them, the same people that are striking right now, none of them qualify for a pension. None of them qualify for a gratuity. Let's start at that point. I was listening to the point earlier, and I heard one caller calling in and talking about the Hermelin Armstrong case. Well, you need to read the Hermelin Armstrong case. We posted it to the Hard Talk page a couple of days ago, and if we get the live up sometime during the day, we're going to post it there today again. Yeah? Because the Hermelin Armstrong case does not speak to restoration of pension for every public worker. It speaks to basically 56 people who were within the service. They got appointed in the service between April 4th, 1984 and February 4th, 1983 and February of 1985. And the administration is saying, here's what. Even though those are the only people that the Hermelin Armstrong case successfully argued, says that ought to be pensioned and so on. So these people receive some $7 million. Those 56 people, between them, receive some $7 million. The government says on moral grounds, not on legal grounds, because on legal grounds the union has no foot. They are no foot there. They could go to court and spend another 20 years waiting on pensions. Meanwhile, you'll have public workers leaving the system and dying in poverty. But the government said, no, we're willing to work along with them to ensure that the workers get their pensions. And we have a call on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, hey, Sheldon. Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning to Grenada.
Good morning.
Right. So I just have two quick things. Well, I hope you walk with your raincoat, although I hardly seen raincoat around these days. But I hope you walk with yours this morning.
I had to check LA Purcell. It does never take it back.
All right. Anyhow, as it relates to this, the union and the teachers, I have a major problem with this thing because, first of all, I think that without knowing all the logistics, the union is totally wrong, and the unions have a problem. They have a communication skills problem. The first thing the unions always do, in my mind, is to strike. The unions love strike, and they cannot sit and have a good dialogue, and they refuse to understand basic things, what a kindergarten child would understand. The union refused to understand that, and they think there is a bully. No. We're in a digital age, and I want the government to take note of what I'm saying. Me and one of my friends was chatting this week, and he is so right. You don't really need all these teachers, in a school. You can teach the students digitally. You only need a few people and teach them digitally. If the union's not careful and the government decide to go that route, that would be a different thing. That would be a lot of people on the breadline. No. We have in Barbados so much people going home. Look, I think a couple of days ago that even people from the courts got notice of possible retrenchment. The union must take stock of what they're doing. And I also think that the government should make it law that the union can only strike certain amount of days in a year and under certain circumstances. It should be law. And I think it should not go beyond that because the union, and I personally believe, and this is my personal opinion, that Lloyd and Lewis is going to do what Ray Roberts do. and that is my thing. This is not an NNP thing or a general thing. This is just my thought when I sit down and analyze a thing, that he is thinking to switch to the other party. That's just my thing, my personal opinion. Let me just say that. So communication skills is something that we as a people, or that the union in that specific case needs, and they don't have it. I know they don't have it because I have experience. I've worked having unions, well, forced me, because I went to work with, it was CCC. I never request for any unions, and if I had a chance, I would never have a union represent me at all, because in my mind, they're not good. That's one. And just quickly, secondly, I heard yesterday from Mikey Life a ruling that the CCJ did, whereas they would have given the transgender community in Guyana the right to cross-dress, and this thing is very disturbing to me. I mean, the referendum didn't pass, and I somehow, I look back and reflect, and I'm thinking, well, that could have been a good thing, that Grenadians would have said no to the referendum a second time. I don't know, but I find that it's very strange that the CCJ should do this thing. Anyhow, have a good day.
All right. Grenadians cross-dress anyway, unless you've not been to town on a Juve morning and seen men who put all kind of grease and oil on their skin and the girlfriend or the mother or the sister nighty and walk the streets on Juve morning. So when it comes to cross-dressing, Grenadians do it already. I, for one, ain't gonna ever be seen doing that kind of nonsense. Me ain't putting on no dress and walk and go no way. But it is already something that takes place in Grenada on a yearly basis. Yeah? So anyhow, 4407377 and 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers for you to call and get on to the inside. Oops, wrong one. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Scott.
Hi, morning.
Good morning to your listening audience. Devon, wherever you are, hope you have a pleasant day. Now, Mr. Scott, I'm beginning to understand this thing much better. Because yesterday, I think Mr. Oliver Joseph was on the air, and this morning again. Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Scott, listen to this. This is my interpretation. No, gratuity is an advance on one's pension. I understand that part. Mm-hmm. Now, the union is asking for a 25% gratuity, meaning a 25% advance of the pension. Mm-hmm. I understand that part too. What the government is saying, that the country cannot afford that 25% at this time because of where we came from and the legislative measures the government put in place in order to prevent the country from sliding back into a non-productive zone where no one can receive anything in the form of grants, incentive, or other benefits. What the government is saying is that 25% is not sustainable. I understand that. Now, what I also understand is that there are set rules for the negotiating party to follow if talks break down a deadlock. I understand that. Now, the question I have to ask Mr. Scott, did the union follow the rules before taking the members of the job? That is the question I'm asking. If the answer is no, they did not follow the rules, then is the teacher's action illegal? And if the answer is yes, is the government obligated to pay the teachers for the days they remain at home? As far as I understand, the answer is no. How come? because the cabinet have taken steps not to pay the teachers for the days they remain at home. Mr. Scott, in the last 36 hours, I have heard a more conciliatory tone, a willingness to return to the table and see what can be done. Mr. Scott, this is the way forward. So I applaud all Mr. Griffith and all those, who is making that move. But let me wrap up here for a few seconds, and Mr. Scott, listen to this carefully. This morning, I was listening to Mr. Kem Jones and his entourage of NNP haters. You know what was ironic about them, Mr. Scott? Is when the unions is in agreement with the government, Mr. Jones and his entourage cuss them and call them all kind of not nice names. But anytime the union is in confrontation with the government, they praise them and give them the full support. Mr. Scott, there it goes. The well-established mindset of just say no and NNP haters. Mr. Scott, I hope some amicable solution will be reached you towards the issues at hand today. Have a pleasant day, sir.
All right, thank you. If it's one thing I'm sure on, is that a solution will be met in which the parents, and the thing is, I'm reading stuff while I'm doing this one time. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that a solution will be met where the unions, will be satisfied and where government will be able to handle what it is agreed upon. But the unions just refuse to return to the table to say 25% or nothing. So they just refuse. First of all, they started saying that it's unconstitutional not to give them the 25%. Until someone said, well, show me where in the Constitution says that you're supposed to receive 25%. Then the people who were saying that suddenly shut up. Because there's no 25% in the Constitution of Grenada. In fact, there's no calculation as to how much people get pension in the Constitution of Grenada. Get a copy of the Constitution, go online, look at section 92 and 93. There's nothing there that says 25% or any calculation. It says that people should get a pension. It doesn't give a calculation. Secondly, they're saying the gratuities and this sort of thing. Gratuities is mentioned twice in the Constitution of Grenada. Nowhere does it give a figure or it gives a calculation as to what people have to get as a gratuity. Nowhere in the Constitution of Grenada. And that's what they were saying, that it's unconstitutional. But nowhere in the Constitution can they show it. No one can find it. You look with microscope, you ask America to borrow one, a NASA satellite, they can't find it in the Constitution. They use the atomic microscope. They can't find it in the Constitution of Grenada. They said, okay, then which law that is applicable in this situation does the 25% gratuity apply? You look through all the laws, and they keep quoting the 1958. But notice what I said, which law that is applicable. The 1958 is not applicable in this sense because the 1958 was replaced by the 1984 Disqualification Act that basically said you, the public servants, will stop receiving salaries, stop receiving, you see, that's the thing when you're tired, you'll stop receiving pensions from the government of Grenada and start receiving those pensions payments through a contributory scheme, the National Insurance Scheme. And that is how the National Insurance Scheme was created as of the 4th of April, 1983. But you still have people that coming and say, well, okay, we have to take that from the You cannot take it from the 1958 Act because even the Teachers' Pensions Act says, the final section under disqualification says that right now, a teacher's pension from the government of Grenada, a teacher who entered the service after the 4th of April 1983, that teacher's pension is zero. And that the teacher's gratuity is zero. This administration could have simply said, look, it says zero, zero means zero, and we're not going forward on it, and taken that position. And would have taken the unions to go to court now to argue. Hermelin Armstrong and those 57 people only received their pensions and so on are treated as though they entered the service before 1984 because it took until 1985 for the law to be fully enacted. In other words, you could pass something in Parliament, but until it is enacted, signed by the Governor General and stamped and so on, and gazetted, does it actually become law? And that happened in 1985. And therefore, these people were considered as though they were there before 1984. 83. I keep saying 84. Before 1983. That is what the situation is. But yet still, government said, well, okay, we're going to treat everybody as though they were in the system before 1983. We're going to treat everybody who comes into the public service of Grenada between April 4th, 1983 and December 31st, 2018. In other words, people who go in and go in the system today, people who the Public Service or Commission or Judicial Legal Services Commission or Commissioner of Police, people who they appoint to the public service today, tomorrow, up until the 31st of next month, all of these people will receive the same pension and gratuity benefits. Yeah? Not as somebody prior to 1983, but that they will be treated as deserving of a pension. But that in the restoration of pensions to them, there would be reformation, which means the people who had zero to get will now get a pension, but that they would not be able to get pension at the same levels of people from 1958. 1958, you probably had under 400 teachers on the island. And the salaries that they were working for, you could have talked about 25% back then. Right now, we're speaking of a situation where not just teachers, but people within the public service, you have some people whose salary would mean that on retirement, the gratuity these individuals will have to get is close to $250,000 and in some cases over $250,000. In short, the salary of 400 Imani trainees. That's what one person will be walking away with and nobody jealous them it. And it's not like they're not going to get it. They're still going to get that $250,000 because, remember, a gratuity is simply a salary advance. When you retire, your pension becomes your salary. And you're saying, if I have to get $1,900 a month, give me $1,750, but give me an advance on the next 12.5 years or so. So you're taking out at 25%. That's what they're asking for now, 25% on whatever it is that they're monthly supposed to be, that they get that up front because they're not sure that they're going to live for how long afterwards. So they're saying, give me 25% up front. In some instances, you're speaking of $250,000. And if government has to do this now for thousands of workers within the system, you're speaking, and in retroactively as well, eh? So it means all those people who retired from the system right now, you have to find their money and pay them as well. And they're going to get their money first before anybody else, before those that just retire in. So you have to find that money the same way you had to find $7 million to pay 56 or 57 people. You're going to have to find millions now to pay off all these people from the years gone by. And still pay them on a monthly basis after. And each time the unions negotiate an increment and salary increases and that sort of thing, the pensioners will be getting that as well. So you're not just taking into consideration the salary increases for those within the public service now. And as one public servant was saying yesterday, it's the same unions. That's why they went to work yesterday. They say it's the same unions that said that the unestablished staff, those people that paying union dues, but they're not appointed by the Public Service Commission as such, that when they get the salary increases and so was only those that was appointed by the Public Service Commission get the salary increases. But the others who are also paying union dues were not treated the same way. They're saying that the union sold them out. So they didn't really care. They're going to work. Because even in the discussions that are taking place now, the unestablished staff are in a second phase of this discussion. And right now we're in the first phase. We ain't start to discuss those people that, if you look at the budget document, are unestablished staff. In other words, they're working with a ministry. They might even be working there 10, 20 years. But these people are not on the established staff of the ministry. They're unestablished. They're not officially appointed through, they might be appointed through a cabinet conclusion or something, but they're not appointed through the Public Service Commission. And these people are deserving of a pension too. Some of them are doing yeoman service. I know many of them. And when increments passing through and when one-off payments, and so they ain't getting. But they're deserving too. What about them? I ain't hear the union talking about them. I ain't hear the union talking about them. Yesterday when they did the interview and they were speaking about the union leader, one of the union leaders, I think is the Public Workers Union, they were speaking about the absenteeism on the work yesterday, who stayed away and so. And she jumped in and said, but you have to remember not all of them are established and that sort of thing. Speak about the fact that many of those that are within the public service right now, the unestablished, do not benefit when you go and your people who are under the public service benefit. And they're paying union dues too. Most they end up with a t-shirt and a 2-drink when it's Labor Day. That's what's happening. But you ain't talking about that. You ain't talking about those workers. Yeah? So one person, under the formula that the union is proposing, with the 25%, who would not like to get $250,000? That's why many of us does play lotto. Who wouldn't like to get $250,000? But is it sustainable? Is it reasonable? How does it affect others? So next thing you have 3,000 people that have to get $250,000 each. Next thing, okay, let me even go that figure. Let's say you have 500 people that have to get $250,000 each. Where are you finding that money? Where are you finding it? But yet still some people just say, give them the money. Yeah, give them the money, but it's you that had to pay. So something that you're paying $1.50 for, when you find yourself having to pay $2 and $3 for it, remember you said, give them what they want. Just give them the money. Because when you're saying give them their money, I don't think a lot of these people who jumping up on radio about pay them the money and so realize that the money is theirs, you know. The same person who is saying give them the money is yours. So if you want the government to give them the money, no problem. But you're going to have to continue finding the money to pay them. Not that the government has to continue finding the money, you know. The Prime Minister could decide today that he's done with that. He could just decide, hey, I no longer want to be Minister of Finance or Prime Minister of the country. I'll remain as an MP and just go to Parliament when they have Parliament. And I'll stay at home and relax with my family. Take my mom on a trip. Bring her Italy and France and bring her all over the world and relax myself. And that means you, the taxpayer, still have to find the money to pay. Because it's not his money that had to go and pay. And some people trying to give you the impression that is the cabinet money that they have to take and go and spend. That is why they've made the decision that legally the unions can withhold their labor and the workers could withhold their labor, and legally the employer could withhold payments for the days that the people have decided that they're going to stay home. Because what about the rest of us? The 80-something thousand of us here that have no pension and gratuity to get? And that's the question I keep asking. Because if government signs on to this 25% gratuity, and they have to find some $70 million a month or more to pay salaries and so on, it's us that have to find that money, you know. It's not government that have to find the money, as in, if government go and borrow, it's we have to pay it back. Me and you. All of you listening to this radio program right now, understand it. If government has to go and borrow money to make payments on the 25% gratuity, is me and is you and is our children and our grandchildren that have to pay it back. It is not the 15 members in parliament alone. Yes, they have their payments they have to make too. But it's all of us that have to pay it. If government decides that the best way to raise the money is to increase taxes, it's all of us that have to pay. Including the same teachers, Including the same public workers. All of us that have to find the money to pay. And if government decides that, look, let's raise the price on this, let's raise the price on that, it's the same people that going back and say, well, cost of living rising. Meanwhile, in Trinidad, now TSTT sending home 100 people. That is after the thousands that go home from Petrotrin and the companies around Petrotrin. The partly government-owned telephone company in Trinidad, they are at the stage now of sending home people. Yeah? Right around us. In Barbados, they're sending home 1,500. Trinidad, you have thousands going home. Like some people want to see that happening here because they believe probably that there's some sort of political mileage to gain from it. Because once government signs to that, people will have to go home. It means some of the unestablished staff might have to go home. Even some of the established staff might have to go home. It means definitely all the Imani and those people in the devotion, they have to go home. It means that less money is available for other things. But some people don't seem to care, and all government is saying, come to the table, speak with us. Since October 3rd, a month and some days, 11 days, they have refused to return to the negotiating table. So today, they're supposed to be going and see the Labour Commissioner. Let's see how that works out. Let's see what's coming out of that and so on. Let's hope we get some brighter out of darkness on that one. 440-7377-347-329-3101. Those are the numbers to call and get on the inside.
In the Caribbean there's an island, found and set aside by nature's plan. It's so beautiful to see, really? Spice Island of the West, lovely. And in the West Indies I say Grenada please. Overwhelmingly glad we are to be of our country. Foreigners have recommended it highly. Hand in hand for a better land of people who can understand this business brighter out of darkness. Speaking of the land, there's much to mention.
And then each time you come up with a serious argument in relation to this, you have those pseudo-intellectuals and idiots out there that come up with some sort of nonsensical argument to try and defend their undefensible position. No, you have to say it as it is. Because as soon as I come on Hard Talk and Devon come on Hard Talk, and we explain that, one, there is no agreement for any 25%. Secondly, that actually the people who are complaining and striking right now are supposed to receive 0 pension and 0 gratuity. 0 and 0. That's what they are supposed to receive legally, but morally it's wrong. And the government has said morally it's wrong. That's why we're having the discussion right now. We have a caller. Good morning.
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 Is that talk?
Yes, it is. It's live.
Yeah, I want to make a contribution, please.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're live. Go ahead.
Yes, what I want to say, I was listening to a program the other night, Lou Smith, with Godfrey Augustine. And I hear him saying that, and the Prime Minister get Finance Minister of the Year, so he had to pay the money. So I don't know what he mean by that. So even though he get an award, we as Grenadians, we should be proud of our Prime Minister.
Doesn't that song as
using that to try to say he must pay the money, because it's not that he get that award and he get a lump sum of money to give away. So I don't understand how these people thinking.
Well, you see, you're accusing them of thinking. I don't think they're thinking. I think that's just hatred and jealousy. If Lou is making that statement, then Lou must be jealous the man. He vexed the man get an award.
Yeah, I find that song right. We should be proud Look at, of that achievement. But you're using that to instill, unrest. These people are sick, man.
Because remember something, they're trying to give the impression that Dr. Mitchell had to find... Dr. Mitchell don't have to find any money, Dr. Mitchell could decide right now that he's going into retirement today. He could just go to the Governor General today and say, listen, I give up. I done with this thing. I don't need to go through this. And go on a cruise with his mom. He could just do that today. And you know who has to pay the money? Not him alone. He's a Grenadian, a tax-paying Grenadian. Yes, he has to pay part of it. But every one of us have to find the money to pay.
That's it.
And if the same teachers put the country into a situation that you can't pay them at the end of the month, it's the same ones who go in and march on the streets and say, pay us, pay us, pay us.
I don't know, but I just feel some people don't like peace. They never like the country to be going smoothly. We all need money, and everybody know it, but we have to understand, where will the money come from? Where is it going to come from?
I have absolutely no problem, ma'am, in saying yes to giving teachers even 50% if the country can afford it.
That's right.
The issue is not that they're not deserving of it. Nobody, from the Prime Minister to Minister Joseph, nobody is saying that teachers do not deserve even 50%. But the issue is, can the country absorb it? And the country cannot. The economy of the country, the treasury of the country cannot absorb it. I heard the union leader speaking about, we see how that paying for already. We have oil and gas. Not one drop of oil pumped yet. Not 1 cubic meter of gas has been withdrawn from the earth and sold yet. But she's saying that, yes, we could pay. Now, when oil start to flow and gas start to flow, whatever, then you have renegotiation and you say, well, look, the country's in a better financial situation. We want to renegotiate this aspect of it, because you could renegotiate. It's a law. You could renegotiate and rewrite the law. Yes. At that point in time, your country's in a different economic situation. But as a point in time like now, when you just stabilize everything,
that's right.
You're saying, well, to hell with everybody, we want we money. No, man, that's unfair.
I find it selfish.
Yeah. All right, my dear.
All right.
Well, you enjoy your day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Right. And strange enough, LL, how come you disappear? I ain't find you talking. LL, you know you're my partner. How come you just get quiet on us so, man? You're gone, man. You disappear. How come when you are the ones who call your people where you was going and you went in and check and see if you had enough in the strike fund? When the minister made the statement yesterday, I was expecting to see you responding, not seeing the Public Workers Union responding, because I know it was you that called I think first early up. So I hope you have enough in the strike fund, because the people had a ham to buy. They had a little cake and thing to make. They want to buy the curtain. They had the children presents and thing to buy. So I hope you have enough in your strike fund. Yeah. Because it means that they're going to be receiving 25%, 25% less of their monthly income this month. Maybe more if you decide to take some more days. So let's see how that plays out. But you better have enough in the strike fund, brother. Because it ain't seem as though government making any joke on that particular one. No issue before the Labour Commissioner decided striking. I don't think they're making any joke on that one, brother. Just remember, it's not Dr. Mitchell and the cabinet that has to pay. It's all of us. Every one of the cabinet ministers could go to the Governor General right now and say, I've had enough. I'm done with that. Any one of them could do it right now. Well, that's going to be a victory for somebody. Somebody's going to gain something by that. No. Because at the end of the day, once it's signed too, you still have to find the money and pay it. Whether you sell what you have to sell, or you go to for loans and so on, but you have to find the money, how you have to find it.
Can understand that that's business, brighter out of darkness.
Then they come and speak about parliamentarians had theirs. Number one, it is not the New National Party of between 2013 to 2018. Not the New National Party of between 2013 and 2018 that put in place any pension or so on for government ministers. Let's make that clear. The only parliamentarian that would have been around when that would have happened would have been Dr. Mitchell, and he would not have been Prime Minister at that time, nor even Minister of Finance. I think he was Minister of Works when that would have happened. And other people that would have been there would have been Dr. Francis Alexis, Tillman Thomas, Arlene Walker, George Brizan. These people were there as well when pensions for parliamentarians was put in place. And the reasoning behind it was this, that while someone, and Minister Joseph explained this yesterday, he explained it today, when a person is a parliamentarian, you leave your substantial job, whatever job you were working in the bank, you were working in the public service, you're working with Grenlec, wherever you were working, you leave that and you go into politics. Number one, when you leave and you're going, you ain't even sure that you're going and win. Some people just kind of be sure in the mind, but things just turn out different after. So, if you were a teacher, for instance, and you break your service, you're in a predicament because, one, you're broken your service. You may not have made your 26 and some years, as has happened to a friend of mine. You break your service. Well, two friends, actually, when I look at it. You have broken your service. So you're no longer eligible for the pension because you have not made the number of years within the service. So that's the first thing. Then you have to hope that you get re-elected a second time, which is not a surety. Meanwhile, somebody within the public service who has their letter from the Public Service Commission, they are permanent. They have to go to nobody every 4 or 5 years and ask to give me another chance. So it was stated that at the end of that time, they gave them a gratuity. So that in case, at the end of the first 5 years, you're not re-elected, you have something that you could survive with until a point in time you could find a job. And I remember what happened to people like me under the NDC, that there were people that would not hire me because they were afraid of the government in power at the time. That guy was a main NNP. He used to be up and down with NNP all over. So they would not hire you. If the government changed, they wouldn't hire you. So all of this was taken into consideration when putting pensions, and you have to serve the 2 terms to make pensions. You have to serve 2 terms. And after you serve the 2 terms, you're still ain't getting the pension, you know. You have to wait until you get to the age of 55. I had been saying 60 before, but it's 55. You have to wait till you get to the age of 55 before you could collect a pension. So as the examples that Honorable Minister Joseph used of Skeeter Lewis and Kindra Mathurin Stewart, who are both in their early 30s. By the time they end this term, they'll still be in their 30s. And by the time they take another 5 years, then they would be in their early 40s. And if they retire from politics then, they have no pension to get. They have to spend at least 10, 11 or 12 years before they could start collecting any pension. Before they could collect a cent. But some people are giving you the impression that as soon as they come out of this thing, they have a set of money to get. There are people who spent time in Parliament and came out without any gratuity and pension. I could tell you because I'm one. I'm not speaking here from what people tell me. I'm speaking from what I know. Other people you hear on other radio programs and call-in programs and saying all sort of things about politicians getting this and politicians getting that. I'm not speaking from hearsay. I'm speaking from experience. And if it was their particular political party in power, they wouldn't have no problem with it, you know. Because they know. I saw a particular person who was an MP in the NDC administration. I see they have to be driving around right now. If you see them, they're driving around right now with a little book trying to take note, going shop to shop to try and find out 1 or 2 things to make 2 ends meet. And there was big hefe between 2008 and 2013. Big hefe. Feltonstone, that man and thing. Big hefe. But that is the nature of politics. It is not a permanent thing. And therefore, that is why what was done before, not by this NNP administration, because The union leadership, Rachel Roberts and Lydon Lewis, they are selling the story as though it is this NNP that put in things for pension and gratuity for parliamentarians. That is not true. Why don't they tell you that George Brizan was there when it was done? Tillman Thomas was there when it was done. Dr. Francis Alexis was there when it was done. Arlene Walker was there when it was done. Not just Dr. Mitchell. And this is the reasoning behind it. Because you know that if earlier this year, God had turned his face from Grenada and the NDC had won the election, and a person like me was looking for a job out there, certain businesses would have never hired me. As qualified as I may be, they would not hire me, and the reasoning would be they're afraid the government spite them. Because you had Nazim Burke was done threatening me, you had the whole NDC was threatening me. So I would not have been able to find a job. So therefore, in situations like that, you make sure that the persons are taken care of at the end of their tenure, whether it's 5 years, or whether it's 10 years, or whether it's 8 years, or whether it's 9 years, that at least they are taken care at the end of their tenure. Not 10 years, their tenure, time in office. But they come and they're talking about that. That's not the issue right now. The issue right now is the lady who works in the general hospital as a cleaner or as a server or as an orderly for the last 27 years and go home right now with kidney problems and need money to help her. That's the issue right now, you know. The police officer who during Hurricane Ivan had to be outside, who during all sorts of things that take place in Grenada had to be outside, at times putting themselves in danger to rescue people, to save people's life, and to protect people, who has spent 30 years in the service of Grenada and is going home right now with next to nothing. The government is saying, let us give them something. Because according to the law right now, what they are due is 0 and 0 except what they get out of the NIS. The contributory pension that government pays something and you pay something. And when you retire, when you reach the retirement age, you start to get a little payment from the National Insurance Scheme. Government is saying that ain't good enough. And they also say legally, they don't have to do it. The Teachers Act says that you're disqualified. The Prison Pensions Act says they're disqualified. The police one says so as well. The public, the one from 1958 was replaced by the one in 1983. So that says so as well. But government is saying, let's forget all of that. Let's put all of that say disqualified aside. Let's qualify you so that you could get a pension, a proper one. And you could get a gratuity, a proper one. But at the same token, it cannot be an issue that is going to ensure that the rest of Grenada suffers. Because that's just what's going to happen with 25%. They could get it 25%, you know, yes, they could get it. But it got to be paid for somehow. The money will have to be found somehow. And according to the statements of certain union leaders, like they don't care how the money is found, whether it's to raise taxes, whether it's to send home people, whether it's to borrow. They don't care. Find the money. They want 25%. How you could be talking about oil and gas as a means of paying that? Grenada pumping any oil and gas? Is Grenada, the state of Grenada, pumping any oil and gas right now? They may have found in Grenadian waters. They find in Guyana too. But it's taking a number of years before money starts to flow into the treasury from those sort of things. So if at that point in time you decide, let us go back to the table and negotiate. So you come and you say, okay, we're willing to accept X amount right now. But you put a clause in there that 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, we will have a renegotiation on this figure. Because at that point in time, the oil and gas might be flowing, and they might be able to give us a little something. Government is not saying that you don't deserve 50%. I want them to point to one government minister that said that teachers are undeserving of the 25%. Nobody is saying that the teachers are deserving. But it is the ability of the state of Grenada to make the payments. That is what has to be considered, because it's every one of us and our children that will have to pay it. And it's not like you could go up to 25 and then come down, you know. Once you go up, the only place you're going is above. That's the only direction you're heading. And remember, if you say 25, it's 25% of what the pension is now. And then when they get the increase next year, it's what the pension is then. Then when they get the increase for the next 10 years, it's whatever the increase is then. So the amount keeps rising on a yearly basis. And this has to be understood, because I think a lot of people just talking on emotion and not on what is the reality.
Grenada, the island of spice, has everything in it that's nice. And when you think of beauty spots, Grenada really has a lot. You can visit the Grandans, have bathing picnics and romance. You can relax on the sand and get a beautiful suntan. We are from Grenada, if you please, the Spice Island of the West Indies. We are happy, peaceful and gay, beautiful, healthy in everywhere, and the warm sunshine every day. Our sea water is crystal clear, and so it is all through the year. Coconut palms and grape trees line the...
And yesterday, during the press conference that was held by the Public Workers Union, I saw the union leader holding up a document and saying, this is where government promised to pay 25%. But I'm looking at the document, and the document says, commuted pension gratuity, gratuity payable upon retirement, 25% of annual pension earned times 12.5, whichever is greater, to be decided upon after discussions with the Ministry of Finance. Why she ain't saying that part? To be decided upon after discussions with the Ministry of Finance. That's not an agreement to pay 25%. If I tell you I'm hiring you to build a step to my home, but I will pay you, in my mind I'm thinking, what, I'll pay you $150. But let me check with the wife and see what she have inside first before we finalize what it is I'm paying you. You can't say that I promised to pay you $150. Because I said, let me check with the wife and see what I have inside before I pay you. So part of what is there says, whichever is greater, to be decided upon after discussions with the Ministry of Finance. Bring our next document. Bring our next one. Show the Grenadian people where it was agreed for 25%. Please, show them. Everybody wants to see. Show them. Because again, I say it is the Grenadian people that have to pay the bill. It's us. We are the ones that have to pay the bill. So you want to know. We ain't taking no cat in bag. Tell us. We want to know where it is. Yeah? 440-7377.
We are happy, peaceful.
Kami, I hope you have Asham down there now, passing for some a little later. Yeah, handle my Asham there for me. Need to get a bottle of honey too.
Our chief crops nutmeg and cocoa. All around the island these crops grow. Banana we must mention too.
Folks, remember next week, Monday, it's going to be the reading of the throne speech So from 10 a.m. next week, Monday, you're going to be seeing, I wonder if it's 10 or 9. I'll confirm the 9 or 10. You're going to be having the throne speech delivered by Her Excellency Dame Cécile Lagrenade, outlining government's plans and policies for the period 2019.
We are happy, peaceful, and gay, beautiful, healthy in every way.
But that's not all next week.
Every day.
Yeah, in fact, we may only have Hard Talk one day next week, huh? Or we may do a special Hard Talk at a certain time, yeah? I think that might be reasonable. I'll discuss it with the guys, and so we may do Hard Talk at a different time next week. Because, one, on Monday, we won't have Hard Talk because we're going to be having the throne speech by Her Excellency Dame Cécile Lagrenade. On Tuesday, I do not believe there'll be any post-cabinet press briefing next week, but I can't speak on behalf of the government of Grenada. They may or may not have. I don't see it. Understanding how the system works, I don't see it. But just in case they do have, it means that you only have about an hour of Hard Talk. Then, on Wednesday, you're going to be having the budget presentation by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Finance Minister of the Year 2018. Yeah, he will be delivering his budget address. And especially with all the talk you're hearing around right now and many of the things that are taking place, I'm even more interested in hearing what the budget has in it for each and every Grenadian. Then after you pass that one, yeah, bring it for me, my dear. Then after you pass that one, thank you. Yeah, after you pass the budget presentation, the next few days would be the budget debate taking place within the House of Representatives. And we will be broadcasting that live, God's willing, for each and every one of you. So you will hear for yourself. And those of you who will be viewing online would be able to see for yourself as well. Or those like me and Cammy that put on we nice dandan and go and sit down up there. And Cammy, you have your dress already, girl? If you ain't have your dress talk, we making one call, Use Cammy, We got to make sure you're looking sharp, Yes, girl, when you step out. Hey, Mommy George, I hope you have your dandan there, When we go in, we go in. Nice. So next week, we're going to be having the throne speech on Monday, the budget presentation on Wednesday, and then I expect Thursday and Friday to be having the debate taking place at the House of Representatives. I haven't received a date yet for the Senate sitting. I know usually they try to give them a clear week, so I'm not seeing it happening the week after. I'm seeing it happening the week after that they would be having the budget debate in the Senate. It might happen the week after, according to what, but sometimes they tend to try to give a clear 7 days before they go to that debate. But we'll be hearing from government, so we'll know exactly what is taking place. We'll know exactly what is taking place. So let me just play this one for you, and then come right back.
In the Caribbean there's an island, found and set aside by nature's plan. It's so beautiful to see, really? Spice Island of the West.
Yeah, I'm missing my online listeners today. Well, those of you who usually listen via the Hard Talk Facebook page, I know many of you are on the YouTube.
Hand in hand for a better land of people who can understand this business right out of darkness.
You've got the opportunity to call. If you're confused about any aspect of this, you can call in. 1. The Hermelin Armstrong case does not restore pension to all public workers. That is not true. That is incorrect. Hermelin Armstrong case only restores pension to 57 people between April 4th of 1983 and February of 1985.
Foreigners have recommended it.
This new National Party administration of 2013 to 2018 and beyond has decided that even though the Hermelin Armstrong case only deals with that period of time, Senator Chester Humphrey was one of the team that came to government and said, listen, 1, do not challenge the case. because government could have challenged the outcome of the case, and the Hermelin Armstrong case could have still been tied up in the court system, heading to the Privy Council or wherever. Yeah, it could have still been tied up in the system. Government said, no, let us not appeal the case. Let us pay the woman, and let us pay the others. And they've been paid. 7 million plus. They've been paid. I'm not saying Miss Hermelin Armstrong gets $7 million. She gets some money. But it's shared among 56 of them, I believe it is. It's shared among them. So these people receive their money. Government did not go that route. Government could have decided it's probably cheaper to hire some high-priced lawyer at $500,000 and tab the case. Yeah, they could have do that. And the case would have still be tied up in the court. And that $7 million could have been used on hiring some more young people, providing loans for small business enterprise, people in their mid-age, even elder people, young people who want to start a business. That $7 million could have been used for that. And meanwhile, you had a case tie up on appeal. But government said, no, these people work. Next thing they done, don't get the money. Pay them. So government paid the people. And now it's saying the rest of people who are not covered by that, they need to be paid too. So they've started the process of discussion with the unions. And the unions must be honest to the people and let them know that right now they're negotiating from zero. It is not the government taking away any 25% from anybody. That is a lie. That is untrue. And yes, you have people that outside there politically that would like to spin that. But government is not taking away any 25% from anybody because they have nothing to start with. So government cannot be taking 25% away from zero. 25% from zero. Yeah, minus 25% from zero. And then call me and tell me how much it leave.
We are from Grenada, if you please. The Spice Island of the West Indies. We are happy, peaceful, and gay, beautiful, healthy in everywhere. And the warm sun.
Sometimes they say dog tanks is mash. That what they say it does? Dog tanks is mash.
Our sea water is crystal clear, and so it is all through the year. Coconut palms and drip trees line the shore, will make you feel at home once more. Fishing is...
We have a caller online. Good morning. Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, but a lot of them spinning that around. They say they owe the government owe the people 25%. They're spinning it. They don't. It's like some people don't understand. You see, and even though you explain it, you have people on the outside still saying the same thing over and over. So you see, it's like they have it in a political way. Because a woman was traveling with me this morning, and she said they had the money they could pay. You understand? So even though they have the money and they pay it, what do you expect will happen? They're going to raise tax. Gas price will go up. This will go up. Tax is going to go up. So if they get a little by a little, and they should satisfy with that, a little by a little, and everything will be all right.
Because as it is right now, any teacher that's... Hello? Hello? Okay, he's gone. Any teacher that retiring today, all they're getting is the NIS, you know. The little piece of thing does get from the NIS, that's all they get in. Government is saying, let us conclude on this matter. So that who have to get the gratuities and so, we start to pay them. The gratuities, those that had to be paid from before and so. You have the pension secretariat, they could go in, they sign up, they start to collect their money, they get the gratuity, and then they start to receive their monthly payment. And while they're talking about the 2%, as though all government is doing is take away 100% from them and offering back 2%. What they're not telling you is that you're starting at zero. Government is saying that they're willing to pay you as a pension on a monthly basis 70% of what your last salary was. Whatever your last salary that you work for when you retire, government is willing to pay you 70% of that as your final salary, as your pension. But if you want your gratuity, government is willing to give you 2% at the total of that amount over 12.5 years, I believe it is. The total amount. So in some people instance, yeah, they're still going home with 30-something and 40-something, 50-something thousand, 100 and something $1,000 according to the category that you work in at the 2%. But the 25%, you have some people that are going home with $250,000. And how would the government find? 4 people, they're talking $1 million already, for 4 people. And they're talking about hundreds of people that you're going to have to find money for. Where would the money come from? Saying government have it, find it. I mean, find it. Then they jump on. Even if every government minister was to decide to work for free from today for the next 20 years, you still don't have enough money to pay off that. You still don't have enough. If every government minister decide that they're working for free, that their salary is zero, and that they have nothing to collect at the end of their time in office, it still cannot pay it. So that's just a dotish argument. I'm trying to understand where these people are coming from with some of this thing. Trying to understand. But then, as usual, I don't like to accuse people of thinking when they're not thinking, because I think some of the people that are making these statements, they're not thinking. You're starting at zero. Government is not taking away 25% from anybody. Government is actually willing to give you 100%. 100% of the 70%. So all of the 70%. So if you get your gratuity, the 2% of the total over the period of time, you then get 98% of your monthly pension to go home with every month for 12 years. And then at the end of the 12 years, you start to get 100% of the 70%, 100% of the money that you're supposed to be going home with on a monthly basis. That's all government is saying. But some people do not want that information to come out. Yeah, I rebuke you. My voice must get better by tomorrow. I rebuke it. You had to go. Yeah, I rebuke it. Ah, boy, my Grenada, eh?
We have them there in this land.
Don't think I've met a single teacher that say that all the teachers are undeserving. I've met a single person that says that the teachers are undeserving of 25% or even 50%.
I want to tell them,
every one of you teachers, you're deserving of it.
My country, don't care wherever I may be.
I am deserving of a holiday. I can't get.
No country in this world could do.
A lot of us are deserving of things that we cannot receive.
I am proud. I love my
at this time.
My homeland forever. Sing the chorus louder. Tell them about Grenada, the land of my grandfather.
And it's not you alone making the sacrifice. No. When you say that, you disrespect me. Every time I see either Lydon Lewis or Rachel Roberts or one of the other union people, Grimes or whoever it is, stand up and say they are the ones making the sacrifice, I cringe. Because I know the bus drivers that down in town right now, and when they buy the gas, they're paying taxes on the gas that they're making the sacrifice right now. When was the last time bus price went up? They are making the sacrifice. So don't watch us and tell us you are alone making the sacrifice. I know it's the parents, when they go and they do the groceries, the head of the household, the single parent mother or the father, when they go to the grocery and they buy, and they're paying the VAT at whatever rate on different items that they buy, they are making the sacrifice as well. The homeowners who are paying the taxes on their property, they are making the sacrifice as well.
Sometimes I put on my TV to check out the daily news. The things I see that have make on
all of us making sacrifice, not just all you. Don't come with that. No. Don't disrespect us. Because it's our money that paying. If everybody decide we ain't paying no tax, all you can't get paid.
But when you check out Grenada,
don't disrespect us by saying that you all alone making the sacrifice. That's not true. You all are not the first set of people that making any sacrifice. All of us making sacrifice. You all get one-off payment. None of us out here ain't getting no one-off payment. No, we couldn't. The government couldn't afford to do it. But you all, they made sure that those of you within the public service get a one-off payment. What you do? You cost for the amount of the one-off payment. When the rest of us, one-off payment was $0.00. You all cost for the amount of money that you get as the one-off payment, isn't it?
Grenada is such a paradise.
You ain't want that too, they were offering that. While the rest of us were getting 0.0.
If we learn the pool, we hand do the little.
And what? We supposed to say quiet and don't remind you of that? No. We that paying. We that have to pay. Every single person that's listening this program, like me or don't like me, support the New National Party, support the National Democratic Congress, support Uncle Gary, support whoever you want. All of us have to pay the bill. All are we in it.
Some things that does really make me unhappy.
Duncan, you come for Nazim? All right, okay. Yeah, take him and go. Tell all you to lock the door.
About us, telling the whole world Grenadians, of course.
There are certain people
And take this thing to consideration.
who follow an anarchist way of political thinking.
No. So if we want the country,
That anything goes and you must be able to do anything and mash up anything and just do as you want, whatever you feel like doing.
so I want to tell all you people who create
People like that, you ever watch the movie The Purge?
on yourself and put
They wish that Grenada had something like that so they could just get rid of certain elements. I'm being serious. I ain't taking it back. That's how some of them does operate.
a nice place Grenada could be, and you'll be proud.
They think like anarchists.
Grenada, my homeland forever.
It's a political philosophy that I believe some of them adhere to.
Grenada, the land of my grandfather.
And you hear them, you know them, because they are the ones that are out there saying, oh, go and buy candle, because they go turn off the electricity and stock up on water because they go turn off the water. Absolute nonsense, yeah? If Grenlec workers go on strike, they can't turn off no electricity.
If we learn to pull, we
And the company has things in place for situations like that.
make Grenada a better land. Mommy, oh my Grenada.
I tell you, I love my Grenada. I don't care. They could write parang. They could call my name on as much radio program as they want. I know what I want. You all want me to start speaking about you all and stop speaking about the issues and the facts. Go ahead. Say what you want. Call my name as much as possible. I care not. Let me say a special good morning to Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Hope you're having a wonderful day today, sir. Yeah, his birthday week. So this week, his birthday. Next week is throne speech. And I'm looking for the tie, boss. The tie I'm looking at. Because he does wear some lasha tie on them day. So I think, Prime Minister, when you're buying ties, I think you have to start to buy 3. I ain't saying buy 2, buy 3. Because me and Nazi B, yeah, we kind of... we want to follow your boss. We like that. So when you're buying tie, buy 3, right? Okay, I know them fellas and them go remind you.
That is such a beautiful country.
So I'm looking to see the tie.
So much black makers of fish.
But that's just a physical thing. I know that the throne speech, and if I were you Grenadians, both home, regionally, and internationally, I would tune in to make sure that I hear the throne speech, which is going to be delivered next week. And 2 days later, the budget presentation. Make sure that you tune in because it's going to be some serious discussions. Yes, tune in so you can hear exactly what is taking place.
I'm so proud of my country.
Don't let nobody run to you afterwards and say this is the case, that is the case. No. Listen for yourself, eh?
No country in this world could do.
We're getting the impression them alone make sacrifice. Yes, you made sacrifice and we respect that, but respect ours as well.
My homeland forever.
I've heard Grimes with that several times. Grimes, you're my good partner, but you're talking nonsense, man. I made sacrifices too, man.
She will always prosper. My Grenada.
I'm one of the people paying income tax, you know, bro.
Grenada is such a paradise. But a lot of
Plus, I have about 4 different class of license that I have to pay. Plus, I pay VAT.
we had do the little that we can. We could make Grenada a better land.
So you're not the only one, and your union and membership is not the only ones paying taxes and making sacrifices. School children making sacrifices too. You feel the conkles does come without VAT on it, steady?
Sometimes when I go to a foreign country, such as the United States, who's so wealthy, I just beg the Father to have some mercy. When I see madness in society,
Yeah, some people trying to give the impression that Grenada in this big warfare and this kind of... Oh, come on, man. Nonsense.
I see that I make
But you know what's going on too, you know? The tourism figures from earlier this year have shown a marked improvement in the number of people visiting the Isle of Spice. Huh?
But when you check out Grenada, we have no diamond and silver. But we just live in unity, and that's what makes me happy.
Remember, if Grenada suffers, we all suffer. I think a lot of us already forget Hurricane Ivan, you know.
I love my Grenada, my home.
Ivan didn't pass through a village and say, you are in NP, let me take off your roof, and you are in NDC, let me leave it. No. Ivan passed through and he take off everybody on. Every now and again, Papa God does step back in to remind us and put us in line. He in charge.
But a lot of folks don't.
So when people come arguing on an issue like this and trying to spin it into politics, I, as a taxpaying Grenadian, have a right to speak on this issue. You can't tell me that because I work with the New National Party, I'm a New National Party card-carrying member and supporter, former parliamentarian within the parliament in the New National Party, that I can't speak on the issue. No, you're out of order. I've all right to speak on this issue. Tell me, don't tell me about me. Tell me what I have said that is untrue. Show me which agreement is there between the government of Grenada for 25% gratuity to teachers and other public workers. Show me that document.
Is when I see people here in my country
I'm telling you it doesn't exist.
creating some false impressions about us.
Show me what law in place says that government has to pay a single cent to the same people that are striking right now.
Take this thing to
I'll go to laws.gov.gd, the laws of Grenada are there. Go there, find it, and show me.
so if we want the country to
Or even better, pull a copy of the Constitution of Grenada, which is the overall guiding principle when it comes to law here in Grenada. Get the Constitution and show me what section of it says 25% gratuities. Huh?
and put hatred on the shelf, then your eyes will open.
Those of you traveling to the St. Andrew area,
A nice place, Grenada.
it might be wise to avoid the Balthazar area.
Grenada.
That's how we go say it, Naz? Yeah, it might be wise to avoid the Balthazar area.
Tell them about
As usual, you know what happens when you have a lot of rain in that area and the bridge, right? Okay.
always prosper. Whoa, my Grenada.
No, there was some flooding in River Road earlier, the Sandal Tunnel.
It's such a paradise. Oh God. But
So please, take it easy on the nation's roads as you're going around,
if we learn to pull we hand,
because with the rains that we have been having over the past 24 hours, you may have little landslides here and there and so on.
forever. Sing the chorus louder. Tell them about Grenada.
Yeah, we're still within the hurricane season. It's until the end of November that officially it ends. But I remember us having, not us having one, but seeing hurricanes out there in January and so. Folks, we have 9 minutes remaining on today's program. You have the opportunity to call in. Mr. Call a little while ago on the overseas line caller. You can call back. I know that the live is down today, so it's humbugging a lot of people. Usually, they can't pick up the radio signal where they are, so they usually check it out on the Facebook Live. But remember, we also have the YouTube Live and our website, www.hardtalkgrenada.com, for situations like that. Huh?
Sometimes when I go to a foreign country, such as the United States, who's so wealthy, I just beg the Father to have some mercy. When I see madness in society, oh God, sometimes I put on my TV.
Welcome to Grenada, the best place to live. There's no place better than here. As much as you hear some people saying Grenada this and Grenada that, they want to be nowhere else but right in it, yeah?
But when you check out Grenada, we have no diamond and silver, but we just live in unity.
And to those of you that may be visiting Grenada, we welcome you. We hope that you're having a fabulous time today. I know there's supposed to be a cruise ship or two in today.
My country is a far.
Some friends were supposed to be, his mom and dad is supposed to be here today.
My homeland forever. Sing the chorus.
Mr. President, I hope you organize my people for me properly, you know. All right, nice.
My grandfather, she will always prosper. Oh, my Grenada, land of peace and culture. Grenada is such a paradise. But a lot of folks don't realize. If we learn the
folks, also want to let you know the St. George Northwest Constituency branch, they present a barbecue fundraising sale. That'll be taking place, let me see, that's going to be taking place when? Friday? Yeah, this Friday at the constituency office, and it's starting at 11 a.m. That barbecue early, boy. What? We have a call online. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Morning.
Is this Hard Talk?
Yes, it is, and you're alive.
Okay. I would like to ask Mr. Sheldon if there is a law saying that government must pay pension and gratuity at this present time.
Okay. No problem. I'll answer you off air.
Huh?
I'll answer you off the air.
Okay.
No problem. Yes. The only law, there are several laws in place. If you're speaking about pensions and gratuities, the 1958 Pensions Act, that act is only in force, in other words, it only deals with people, that's in law, it's only in place for people who have been put into the public service between up to the 4th of April 1983. So the 1958 Act deals with everybody that was within the public service and have made it 26 and how much years? Up to the 4th of April 1983. Anybody that entered the service up to that point in time. It has also been extended for 56 people who entered the service between the 4th of April 1983 and February of 1985. I'm trying to remember the exact day, and for the entire day I can't remember it. February 1985, right? So those are the only people that law deals with. That law does not apply to anybody else in the state of Grenada. So whatever pensions and gratuities are in there, it's only for those 56 people covered by the Hermelin Armstrong case between 1983 and 1985, and anybody who was there prior to 1983. Now, there's the Teachers Act, the Teachers Pension Act. Same situation. Only deals with the people prior to April 4th, 1983, and those 56 people between April 4th, 1983 and February of 1985. There's the Prisons Act, same thing. Police have something in place, same thing. Right? None of them deal with pensions and gratuities for public workers right now. What public workers and so on now are under, they receive their pensions, no gratuity, but what is considered a pension through the National Insurance Scheme. So the act which created the National Insurance Scheme back in 1983, that is the only one that they're supposed to be receiving any pension under and no gratuity. Yeah, that is what teachers, the ones who are striking now, public workers, everybody else under the public service, that's what they receive their pension through. That's the National Insurance Scheme. Government is saying, look, we are willing to go further. We are willing to make sure that everybody who works in the public service can get a pension. Everybody who worked between, well, the others are already covered, so everyone who entered the service and are not covered by the Hermelin Armstrong case between April 4th, 1983 to December of this year, while it is not in law, what government is negotiating with the unions is what is to go into the law to replace the Pension Disqualification Act of 1983 that created the NIS and disqualified all of them who are not getting pension now from getting pension. That's what government is doing, you know. This is the negotiation stage. This is saying when that law goes to the House of Representatives, the workers would have had a say and agree with what is being put into that law. It's not just a discussion and then you pay, because you can't. It's illegal to pay. You have to pass the act first, because you can't make that payment without doing the act or amending an existing act. You might repeal an act that's there totally and put a new one in place, or you may amend it. So whichever way the team decides that they're going to go with that. So as it is right now, there is no law in place in Grenada that says any of them not covered by the Hermelin Armstrong case, the 56 people between 1983 and 1985, there is no law in place in the state of Grenada that says that these people have to be paid any pension or any gratuity. It is government of its own free will. You have former teachers within the cabinet. You have Kate there, a former teacher. She knows the struggles that teachers go through. Dr. Mitchell himself was a teacher at that time. And many other members of cabinet. And they interact with teachers on a daily basis. And public workers. Because obviously they're running ministries. So you know as a minister that sometimes you're heading home 6, 7 in the evening, you're leaving your office if you're not out to a function, and that in some ministries there are still workers there fighting up to complete something because they have a deadline that they have to meet. So you know that there are people that are working hard and suffering. So you're trying your best to ensure that something is in place for them. And we're just hoping that that is the intent of the union instead of playing politics. Stop playing politics with the workers' pensions. Yeah? Come to the bargaining table and discuss this thing. As somebody say, maybe certain people want to do like Ray. Yeah, they may want to do like Ray. Anyway, folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. Gonna be heading out right about now. You realize that the throat is giving me real problems today. Real problems. So I'm heading out. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love each and every one of you. And may God richly bless each and every one of you in everything you say, everything you do. Do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you and not about you.
Government says acceding to unions' demands could bring some key programs to a halt. Details to this story and more coming up in the National Report. Welcome back with the National Report for today, Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. I am Wendy Edmond. The Grenada government says if it is to find an additional $21 million to pay gratuity to under 2,000 public workers, it could bring key programs to a halt. Trade Minister Oliver Joseph said Tuesday that the Housing Repair Program, the Debushing Program and the Imani Youth Program could be among the casualties.
If the government is to agree with the union's proposal, then the poor man out in St. David's who looking for 2 fortnights, or Mr. Samuel who waiting for me to repair his roof and build a toilet, and there will be no money left for that. Or the 1,300 Imanis that we're taking on, there will be no money left. The money will have to be used to meet this bill.
Joseph says to be able to service other sectors of people in the economy, it offered the unions a higher pension with a lower gratuity payment, which described as an advancement of pension payment. Under the government's plan, according to Joseph, workers will get on average a monthly payment of $1,900 a month, $400 more than they will receive under the union's current demands. Joseph said that will transfer the burden of a huge upfront payment that he said is not sustainable.
This amount, first of all, is not affordable, neither is it sustainable. If you have to find $21 million additionally to add to the payroll, it means that you will have to cut back on a number of areas.
The minister said, unlike what has been claimed in some areas, there was never an arrangement for a 25% gratuity payment. He said the government has kept both the spirit and the letter of the Memorandum of Understanding it signed with workers earlier this year.
The union demand will add up to $21 million annually to the payroll, bringing the cost of pension to approximately $74 million annually.
Joseph also said to agree to the demands will also break the law regarding the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
If we breach the Fiscal Responsibility Act, it means that the financial pledges that we have, we will not receive it. It means that hundreds of millions of dollars in grant funding will not come to the state because of the breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
The government of Grenada says it will move to protect people's health care at the General Hospital and other facilities should top medical officials join a call for industrial action by the Public Workers Union. Sources at the Ministry of Legal Affairs say that the government is preparing to file an injunction against any strike in the healthcare services sector which fails to recognize the law. There are restrictions on industrial action in essential services such as the health sector. According to the source, the court injunction would be filed before the end of the week. The PWU has announced that it is joining industrial action, which up until now has been limited to teachers over the dispute over gratuity payments. A government source says that the administration is concerned that the health care of ordinary Grenadians could be compromised by action that is not legal under the labor statutes. On Tuesday, public workers officially joined industrial action inspired by the Grenada Union of Teachers. But government officials said that the majority of public servants showed up for duty on Tuesday. A check at the ministerial complex, the Ministry of Finance and the Customs and the ports indicate that operations there were normal. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
big business don't participate. The cabinet has decided that in accordance with law, if you withhold your labor, then the employer can withhold his wages. So if you did not provide labor, then you should not expect to be paid for days that you did not work. And therefore, workers who did not show up for work, on the days on which they did not work, the salary will be deducted for days not worked.
Minister for Trade Honorable Oliver Joseph addressing the current impasse between the government and the public sector trade unions during the government's weekly post-cabinet briefing on Tuesday. At the heart of the impasse is pension restoration and reform, which prompted the leadership of the teachers union to urge their members to stay at home for 2 days last week and 3 days this week. Workers represented by the PWU have also been asked not to report to work on Tuesday and Wednesday. Minister Joseph also says the comparison being made by union officials regarding gratuity for parliamentarians is not a basis for anything going forward, especially since the formula is different from that of public servants. In a release to its members titled "Gratuity a Must," the Public Workers Union said after only 4 years or 1 term in office, parliamentarians receive full gratuity and continue to receive gratuity every 4 years they remain in office. He says that they are not painting an accurate picture.
Every 5 years, you must go to the polls to seek a mandate from the people to be re-elected, to get your job. If after 1 term, and you're not re-elected, you don't get a pension because you have to serve 8 years to get a pension. And you have to be age 55. So they're not telling you the full story, you know. If you make 8 years, so Kate Lewis and Kindra, who are in the early 30s, if they make 2 terms, right, and say 32 and 8, that is 40, they have to wait until 55 years to get a pension.
The last time parliamentarians received an increase was 23 years ago. On to this next story. Government's negotiating team had asked the Grenada Union of Teachers negotiators on pension payments to return to the table in a letter that was addressed November 6th that appeared to have been ignored. A letter seen by members of the media Tuesday was responding to a letter a few days earlier by the Grenada Union of Teachers. The response said the negotiating team was confused by the new position of the GUT, especially since they were involved in joint negotiations. The negotiating team also said that what it reviewed as a counter-proposal by the GUT added to further confusion. The letter signed by head of the Pensions Committee invited the teachers to return to the table to clarify the many issues, but it appeared that the request was ignored. Finally, in the newscast, Grenada's Labour Commissioner met Tuesday with a delegation of 7 persons to get background information on the issue of pension and gratuity for further discussions with the unions. Tuesday's meeting at the Ministry of Labour conference room included 3 representatives from the Pension Engagement Committee, 1 from the Ministry of Finance and 3 from the Pension Secretariat. And acting in accordance with the dispute procedure in the Labour Relations Act, the Labour Commissioner has called a meeting with the unions and staff associations for 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, 14th November 2018, where it is anticipated that they will lay out their case. And that's a wrap on the National Report for today, Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. On behalf of all of us in the newsroom, I am Wendy Edmond, thanking you for viewing.
The Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts present Youth Week 2018, empowering our youth, shaping our community, protecting our future. The week of activities kicks off on Friday, November 9th with the minister's address from 8 p.m. Saturday, 10th November, health fair, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cuthbert Peters Park War, and the Fitness Revolution, 3 p.m. Concord Junction. Sunday, 11th November, it's the Peace Concert, Grenville Bus Terminal. On Tuesday, 13th November, ministers meet with the youth at Her Majesty's Prison. Thursday, 15th November, from 5 p.m., it's the Imani Graduation, Youth Awards and Gala. And on Friday, 16th through the weekend, it's the National Youth Service Weekend. Every parish get involved. And on Saturday, 17th November, it's Youth Expo, Explosion Fashion and Cultural Day, 2 p.m. until at Hero Square, Victoria in St. Mark. So remember, Youth Week 2018, November 9th to the 17th.
Minister Joseph, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Having had the benefit on working on both sides of the fence, so to speak, as a union representative and now as part of the government, you are uniquely positioned to speak on the issue. I'll allow you to do so.
Well, thank you very much. So let me give a brief background to this issue so that we can set it within the proper context. 1958 Pension Act made provision for established workers who are qualified to receive a pension. At that time, it was the qualifying age was 33 and a third years. That is the amount you had to make. And it was reduced through negotiation to 26 and 2/3. And I was involved in that negotiation, so I remember it very good. When we went to the government and said, 33 and a third years is a total long period. Let us consider 26 and 2/3. In fact, when I was preparing for the negotiation, we got this formula from St. Lucia. And that was in the 90s, but I remember it, as I said, because I was integrally involved in it. So that is what was at stake. And that was in place up to 1983. But let me first say, under the Act, you receive only one pension from government. So there was only one pension, because there was no NS. So only one pension was available. In 1983, the government then passed the Pension Disqualification Act on the 4th of April, 1983, which superseded and canceled the 1958 Pension Act and make it mandatory, a contributory plan where the employer and the employee will contribute to national insurance, and all workers will qualify and benefit on the national insurance scheme once they qualify. So to get an NIS pension, you must make 500 contributions, and NIS contribution is calculated on a weekly basis, so 500 weeks. So you could say 10 years because 52 weeks in a year. Then you will get only an NIS pension. So that was to maintain the one pension. But this was fairer because, as I indicated, under the 1958 Pension Act, you had to be a permanently established worker to benefit from pension. So if you were unestablished or daily paid worker, you were not given a pension. However, in the 1983 amendment, with the coming to being of NIS, all workers who contributed to NIS would receive an NIS pension at the age of 60. So when this government came into office, it said, we need to look at pension reform and see how we can address this issue and address the concerns of workers that the NIS pension is not sufficient to allow them to live an adequate standard of living in order to meet their basic commitments. And a commitment was given by this government to review, reform, restore pensions. And that is where we are today. So where are we? So recall, at the 4th of April 83, Humlin Armstrong took her matter to court and said that she was entitled to a gratuity and pension, having joined the public service before the 22nd of February 1985. Now why 22nd of February 85? Because that is the time when the law that was passed to abolish pension was gazetted. And that is why the court ruled that the effective date for the disqualification is February the 22nd, 1985. And that was the important ruling in the Humilin Armstrong case. It's not that the court restored pension for everyone. Said, because the law was gazetted on the 22nd of February, that then became the effective date for the disqualification of pension. And she started working before the 22nd of February 1985. So what did the government do? In keeping with the court ruling, the government restored pension to all workers that came into work before the 22nd of February 1985. And that cost the government $7 million in restoring pension. So the question of pension restoration was addressed by the government, and that is the only legal obligation. So what did the government did? They met with the unions and said, let us look at reforming the Pension and Gratuity Act so that the workers who came after 22nd of February to the 31st of December 2018, the government, together with the unions, can address the issue of pension. And so the unions started meeting with the government-appointed pension committee to work out a formula for pension and gratuity in keeping with the government's commitment of reforming pension. And that's why the 70% minimum guaranteed is a negotiated amount. It was not anything that is in the law, because there's no law on pension. So the union is claiming, therefore, that the 25% gratuity, that the government had agreed with it, it is not in the MOU, it is not in the collective agreement. And then so they could not produce any document that was signed between the union and the government-appointed team. The latest position that I've heard from the union is that the 25% is enshrined in law. In other words, it's contained in law. So before I came on the program, I did some research. It is not under the Teachers' Pension Act. It is not under the act that governs the public workers, because the Pension Disqualification Act supersedes and cancels the 1958 Act. So I'm not aware of which act that they are referring to now. However, I need to make the point that if it is under an act, then you are legally entitled to it, then that is a matter that can easily be addressed in the court. They can do it like Humilin Armstrong went to court and get redress. So if, as I said, they are legally entitled to it, then they can go to court and argue the case that they are legally entitled to 25%. But as far as the government is aware, there is no such act. So the government proposes a 2% gratuity payment and a 98% as a worker's pension. I think that is important to understand. In the old formula, if you got 25%, then you will get 75% as your pension. So if you are getting 2% now, it means that you're entitled to 98% as a pension, and therefore you'll be getting more as a pension. In addition, every time public sector workers get an increase in salary, pensioners also receive an increase. So you will be getting an increase in your pension. You do not get increase in gratuity because that's a one-off lump sum payment. So what we are saying is that the workers are offered a higher pension than the union is asking for. For example, if a public officer's pension worked out to be $2,000 a month, and he or she took a gratuity of 25%, the pension will be reduced to $1,500 a month. The gratuity, which is a prepayment on pension, will then be $500 multiplied by 12 times 12.5 years, which is equal to $75,000 payable at the time of retirement. However, under the government's 2% or for with a 98%, instead of the worker receiving $1,500 per month, they will get $1,920 as a pension, and I said with future increase. Now, the demand from the workers. They are demanding the 25% gratuity. As I said, there is no agreement, and if there is any agreement, the union is free to produce the agreement. The union demand will add up to $21 million annually to the payroll, bringing the cost of pension to approximately $74 million annually. This amount, first of all, is not affordable, neither is it sustainable. If you have to find $21 million additionally to add to the payroll, it means that you will have to cut back on a number of areas. Therefore, we'll have to send home the Imanis to get the money because we have to get 21 million extra. We'll have to close the house repair program. We'll have to stop the debushing program. We'll have to cut back because remember how the budget is done, you know. It's an annual estimate of revenue and expenditure. And allocations are made based on sectors. And therefore, to find an additional $21 million will mean getting it from some other allocation that's made. It's simple as that. So if the government is to agree with the union's proposal, then the poor man out in St. Davis who looking for 2 fortnights, or Mr. Samuel who waiting for me to repair his roof and build a toilet on him, there will be no money left for that. Or the 1,300 Imanis that we're taking on, there will be no money left. The money will have to be used to meet this bill. Well, no responsible government could take a decision to commit the state, because what you're committing is a state pension, you know. So any government coming thereafter will have to pay it when you commit the state to that. In addition, there is a Fiscal Responsibility Act that is in place. And there is a public expenditure rule, which states that you cannot exceed expenditure to over 2% from the previous year. This amount will mean that we will have to bridge the Fiscal Responsibility Act. If we bridge the Fiscal Responsibility Act, it means that the financial pledges that we have, we will not receive it. It means that hundreds of millions of dollars in grant funding will not come to the state because of the breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And the only reason why government have received grant funding and so much praise for its economic performance, because we have ensured that we remain disciplined, exercise fiscal discipline and remain within our budget. And therefore, to give up all that in order to satisfy the demand of public sector workers that have already benefited over the last 5 years from $110 million in retroactive pay, a 10% increase, 3% in 2017, 3% in 2018, 4% in 2019, just for public sector workers. This government cannot afford to neglect all the other sectors in society. We need to stimulate economic growth in the country. We need to reduce unemployment. It will be highly irresponsible for this government or any government to get into agreement that will see the other sectors of society suffering. We call on the unions to go back to the bargaining table, to sit with the pension committee, to see how we can reach agreement on this matter. Because it's not a simple matter of the government just refusing to pay 25%, or that the government agreed to pay 25%, and now, instead of that, offering 2%. Because that is the basis for the industrial action, you know. The basis for the industrial action is the trade union saying to its members that government agreed to 25% and then just change it to 2%. And yet they have not provided any document to show that the government signed an agreement for 25%. And so we are saying to the membership that there is no agreement in force and that the government is willing to continue talking with the unions in the interest of the country. And therefore, what is at stake is the future development of the country. We have to be responsible, as I said, and ensure that we act in a manner that will benefit. We have serious issues with the action taken by the unions. There is a procedure to follow when there is a dispute between workers and employers, whether it's in the private, public sector. You have to follow certain procedures. If there's a deadlock, you go to the Labor Commissioner. If it's not resolved, you go to the Minister for Labor. As far as I'm aware, the matter was not referred to the Labor Commissioner or to the Minister of Labor. And the workers, the union asked the workers to take strike action. So the cabinet has decided that in accordance with law, if you withhold your labor, then the employer can withhold its wages. So if you did not provide labor, then you should not expect to be paid for days that you did not work. And therefore, workers who did not show up for work, on the days on which they did not work, the salary will be deducted for days not worked. And that is within law, and the unions know that. In most unions have what they call strike fund, in case something like that happens, where they have to pay the workers when the employer deduct the wages. And the cabinet has decided at its meeting Monday that that is the course of action that will be taken for workers that decide to withdraw their labor. You have a right to withdraw the labor under the Act. It's very clear. Workers can withdraw labor and the employer can withdraw the wages. And therefore, we are saying that we would like to see the workers return to work, go back to the bargaining table, and let us reach an amicable.
The following is an address to the nation by Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister with Responsibility for Youth, in observance of Youth Week 2018, celebrated under the theme, Empowering Our Youth, Shaping Our Community, Protecting Our Future.
Fellow Grenadians, it is my honor and privilege to address the youth of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique, as well as the general citizenry on the commencement of Youth Week 2018, celebrated under the theme, Empowering Our Youth, Shaping Our Community, Protecting Our Future. The theme for this year's celebration calls upon all stakeholders in youth development to address youth development challenges in a holistic manner, especially at a community level. As a ministry, we are aware that we need to collectively implement strategies to improve the lives of our young people by concentrating on several priority issues such as youth empowerment and employment, skills and entrepreneurship development. While we cannot ignore the fact that there are many contemporary issues affecting young people, we do believe that the positives far outweigh the negatives. As a government, we stand committed to address the issues confronting our young people and seek to provide opportunities for all youth of this country through many of the ministry's programs. The pathway for Grenada's youth development agenda is captured in the National Youth Policy 2015 to 2020, which outlines 4 major pillars that would ground the work we do as a ministry. They include 1. Mainstreaming youth in Grenada's economic development. 2. Facilitating active youth participation in nation building. 3. Building youth resilience, strengthening human capital. 4. Professionalizing Grenada's youth work sector. As we celebrate Youth Week 2018, we must highlight the achievement of our young people in sports, culture, education, agriculture, science, and innovation, among others. We celebrate the exemplary performance of the many young people who continue to excel and fly our country's flag all over the world. Today, we also pause to celebrate the contributions of others who have gone beyond the age of youth but have made significant contributions to youth development work in this country. We salute you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to appeal to all the young people of this country to get involved in the activities to celebrate the achievement of our nation's youth, and more so, to be involved in the activities that will be able to strengthen our communities and build stronger youth networks. Having a strong youth movement offers us a golden opportunity to accelerate sustainable development and achieve peace and security. Empowering today's generation of young people is our country's only chance to reduce youth unemployment, end poverty, bridge inequalities, and reverse issues such as climate change. Young people of this country, it is my hope that as we get involved in the celebration of Youth Week 2018, that we can reignite the spirit of volunteerism among young people and encourage them to get involved in empowering themselves, shaping their communities, and protecting their future. I thank you.
The preceding was an address to the nation by Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister with Responsibility for Youth, in observance of Youth Week 2018, celebrated under the theme, Empowering Our Youth, Shaping Our Community, Protecting Our Future.
The Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts present Youth Week 2018, empowering our youth, shaping our community, protecting our future. The week of activities kicks off on Friday, November 9th with the Minister's Address from 8 p.m. Saturday, 10th November, Health Fair, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cuthbert Peters Park War, and the Fitness Revolution, 3 p.m. Concord Junction. Sunday, 11th November, it's the Peace Concert, Grenville Bus Terminal. On Tuesday, 13th November, ministers meet with the youth at Her Majesty's Prison. Thursday, 15th November from 5 p.m. It's the Imani Graduation, Youth Awards and Gala. And on Friday, 16th through the weekend, it's the National Youth Service Weekend. Every parish get involved. And on Saturday, 17th November, it's Youth Expo, Explosion Fashion and Cultural Day. 2 p.m. until at Hero Square, Victoria in St. Mark. So remember, Youth Week 2018, November 9th to the 17th. Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.